Good evening, everyone.
All right.
We take our
By
seats.
7.
I heard that. Saw that.
I'm going to call this meeting of the special meeting of the District 65 School Board to order at 6:05 p.m. We're going to first have roll call.
Ms. Garrison?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Here.
Ms. Cartha? Here. Ms. Quattracki?
Here.
Ms. Chow?
Here.
All right. Motion?
Yeah, the first order of business is going to be approval of the agenda, and we're going to make a slight shift to the agenda.
I move that the Board of Education approve tonight's meeting agenda with an amendment to move formal presentations to the meeting of the 2017-2018 Board.
Can we take a roll call or a vote, please?
Second.
Oh, sorry.
Ms. Garrison?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Cartha? Yes. Ms. Quattracki?
Yes.
Ms. Chow?
Yes, motion carries. Just for those of you in the audience, that just enables us to do our tribute to our outgoing board members all at one time and then hold the other formal or informal comments from the public when we start the next part of the board meeting. So with that, we're going to start our tribute to our retiring board members, Tracy Quattracki and Claudia Garrison. And first, I think we're going to have any members of the public that would like to recognize the retiring board members who are invited up to speak. I have 5 folks listed on the sign-up form, so I'll start in this order, and then if there are others, you can add yourself. First, Katie Bailey. Or unless you're reordering yourselves, you can do that. Okay. Katie Bailey and Laura Holnhold. Well, you can introduce yourselves. Hi, Regina. Welcome back, Katie.
Hi.
Okay. Hi, we are Laura Honhold, Katie Bailey.
Regina Wooten. Lisa Redmond.
All of us helped on Tracy's original campaign. She came to the board because she believed that all schools and all kids should benefit from a high-quality Evanston education. Here's what she said back in 2009 during her campaign.
I'm running for District 65 School Board because my training, skills, and life experience will enable me to bring leadership and vision to the board's mission. I want every family moving to Evanston to know that each of the schools in this district provides the same quality education. I want there to be no such thing as desirable or undesirable schools. I would like to help the board make smart, strategic, and forward-looking decisions that take into account the functioning of the entire district.
In our completely unbiased opinion, Tracy has done all of that and more. Over the years, we've watched her on TV. I think we could all agree she looks great on TV. We heard her discuss her passion for educational issues on our many walks along the lakefront, and we've seen firsthand her commitment to fight for every student, every day, whatever it takes. We're so grateful for her intelligence, empathy, and hard work, and we're very, very proud of her.
We're sharing roles here. I was lucky to serve with Tracy for 6 years on the board. I saw her in action and saw the impact she made in the district. Those of you who know us know that Tracy and I did not always agree. And one of the things that I love about our friendship and our service is that we didn't have to agree, that we could debate and argue and come out on the other side better friends for it. I know there's a lesson there for all types of public service. Debate, discussion, and even conflict can push us to make better and more thoughtful decisions. Before speaking, I thought back on the last 8 years of debates and changes, programs, and policies that we have witnessed together. To every discussion, Tracy brought thoughtful intelligence, input from the community, data, and strategic thinking about the future, and at times a stubbornness to do the right thing. She did a lot in 8 years, and there's too much for me to even say in this short time. And actually, with my memory, there's too much for me to remember it all. But just thinking about it, I wanted to highlight a few. Tracy fought to keep woodworking in our middle schools and the BMI out of them. She pointed out the craziness of cap and transfer. She expanded our work with the ETHS 202 school board and created a series of meetings and topics to elevate the shared work of both our schools, districts. She made sure that the community input came into every discussion and every decision we made. Tracy taught us that simply making sure we use data to make decisions wasn't good enough. We need to make sure we use good and meaningful data, even when it didn't show us what we wanted to see. Tracy fought to make change and to put programming and policies in place to improve the achievement of all groups. As board president, she led the team to hire Dr. Gorin, and in the last 6 months of her tenure with this whole school board and with the community, she worked tirelessly to pass the referendum. Her legacy is not just in what she did, but in the foundation she put in place that will impact our students for years to come. Now, Tracy is not just a board member and not just a hard worker. She's also a friend.
So I have the opportunity to speak about Tracy, or as we call her, Dr. TQ, as our friend. What you probably do know about Tracy is that she's loyal, she's smart, she's fierce, she's funny, and she's very supportive. But we also thought we'd share a couple of things you might not know about Tracy. They're not bad, I promise. She's a secret runner, and oftentimes she can be found on the lakefront running really, really fast to burn off some stress. She's like a dog with a bone about certain things, but she really is a cat lady. She believes in that old adage, early to bed, early to rise. Oh, wait, that's not Tracy. We all know she loves a certain buttery flavored drink, and hopefully we'll be able to spend a lot more Monday evenings with her enjoying that certain buttery flavored drink. And most of all, she's an incredibly loyal friend. We're lucky to call her a friend. We're lucky to live in a community that has people like Tracy willing to give up 8 years of Mondays and many, many more to serve us and our children. Thank you on behalf of your friends and the community for your service to the board and to Evanston.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Jean Luft will be speaking next. Jean?
It's just me, I don't have like roles, so I'm sorry. 4 years ago, I spent a lot of time and energy convincing Claudia to run for school board. And obviously, I was good at that because she ran and she won, and she served these 4 wonderful years. So it's only fitting that I get up here now to thank you for your 4 years of service. Claudia, you have been a strong advocate for children, families, and education in District 65. I know all the district staff and teachers have appreciated your insight and knowledge of the nuts and bolts of the daily work environment. I know all the parents and students have appreciated your knowledge of instruction and curriculum. Thank you so much for all the time and energy that you have devoted to being on the school board. Our community is a much better place for having you as a teacher in our district and on our school board. So thank you again.
Thank you.
Ms. Denise Taylor.
Hello. I'm Denise Taylor. I'm a teacher in the district. And Like Jean, we were very excited to talk to Claudia. It was, run, Claudia, run! Claudia Garrison was just freshly retired from my school, Haven. When we approached her, we begged her, please, Claudia, run. Claudia was thinking about, retirement. Not this big service, but she did. She ran. It has been and continues to be my firm belief that a school board should be comprised of professionals in the teaching field, and Claudia Garrison fit the bill. She has been the voice of us teachers, fighting the good fight, the only District 65 teacher on the board. Seems kind of crazy, right? Her tenure on the board shows a compassionate and passionate and highly qualified voice that refused to be quieted despite many who opposed her. I think of Claudia as the Elizabeth Warren of this board. I thank you, Claudia, for all of the hours of service you have provided this board, our community, our kids, and our teachers. Your clear and reasonable voice will be missed.
Thank you.
Mr. Jim Young.
Good evening. My name is Jim Young, and I'm here to express my gratitude to both Claudia Garrison and Tracy Kutraki for their service in District 65 School Board. My wife and I have 3 kids, 2 who recently graduated from ETHS, and our youngest who is in 7th grade at Haven. For about the last 15 years, we've had at least one child in District 65 schools, and during this time, we've gained a full appreciation and respect for the important and difficult work by the school board members. We also appreciate the work and leadership of this administration. Claudia. I initially met Claudia when she was my daughter's English teacher at Haven. She not only pushed Stephanie, but she also pushed all students to reach their potential. She demanded it, and she got results. After she retired from teaching, I was very happy to know of Claudia's interest in serving on the school board. Her informed perspective about what actually works in the classroom has led to better policies being implemented throughout the district. Claudia, thank you for your outstanding efforts in the classroom and on the school board. Tracy, what can I say but thank you? I admire and respect your commitment to our District 65 community, including the administration, staff, teachers, parents, and most importantly, all students. During your 8 years on the District 65 School Board, I know you have spent hours upon hours to improve the educational experience and opportunity for all students. Your belief that all students can succeed and your willingness and ability to pursue evidence-based strategies to enable their success is a hallmark of your service on the board. Unlike some prior school board members and prior administrators who pursued shiny objects because they appeared to be politically acceptable and expedient, you demanded transparency, accountability, and results. 2 important accomplishments that I would like to highlight include an improvement in the writing curriculum and a more intentional and purposeful approach towards personnel. Tracy's understanding that writing improves critical thinking skills and is linked to reading has led to improvements for all students. In addition, there's finally more attention paid to grammar. Not enough, but at least it's a start in the right direction. If students aren't being taught these foundational skills in school, where do we expect they will learn these skills? We're witnessing the ignorance of a tweeting president, and hopefully we have higher expectations for our kids. Regarding personnel, there has been a very significant and welcome change in approach towards personnel at District 65 during Tracy's tenure on the board. Today, there's a recognition that District 65 is a human capital management organization, meaning it's people that makes the difference. Today, there's an intentional approach to our personnel. Outstanding talent is being identified, recruited, hired, trained, and retained. This is leading to a more positive work environment for employees, a more can-do culture, and we're starting to see improved outcomes for students. I personally have witnessed this positive change at Haven over the last 10 years when my oldest daughter started at Haven until today with my 7th grader. Thank you, Tracy. Thank you, Dr. Gorn, and thank you, Principal Kathy Roberson. And of course, thank you to all the teachers and staff at Haven. I know it's hard work. Tracy, hopefully the new board will continue down the path you forged. Again, thank you for your service on District 65 School Board. Lastly, I just want to comment on an important decision the new board will make tonight, and that's for the school board president. I would strongly encourage and hope that the board unanimously confirms Candace Chow to serve another term as president. Under her leadership, the District 65 referendum was overwhelmingly approved by our community. She spent countless hours advocating for all students, and this outcome and the fact that she received the largest number of votes by a big margin has earned her spot for another term as school board president. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to read one other set of comments before we open it up to the Dr. Gorn. Richard Rickus, who could not be here tonight, who recently resigned from the board, had asked that I say a few comments on his behalf for Claudia and Tracy. So I am going to read this so that I get it right. Claudia, after your public service as a teacher in our district, thank you for stepping up again to serve. You so often challenge the board to think differently about situations, usually through a lens of a teacher, staff person, or school leader. You help us make better decisions as a board, and that's what this service is all about, collaborating to do our best for the school community. Thank you for helping us all be better. And you went above and beyond the baseline expectations of a board member, spending dozens of hours talking with groups and making phone calls, canvassing, and more to pass the recent referendum. Leaving our schools adequately funded is an important part of your legacy, and I'm so grateful for your work these past months and years. And enjoy your time serving now as grandma. And then to Tracy. With 8 years under your belt on the school board, 3 serving as president, you've led our work in so many ways. Most people know about your work to set clear and high standards against which we measure our students' success. They know that you analyze situations not through an ideological lens or based upon a moving anecdote or two, but by examining the full context, reviewing relevant data, listening to multiple viewpoints, and reconciling the information. You brought a new level of decision-making to all of our work, which benefited our district. Thank you for being a role model in decision-making. You also dedicated dozens of hours each month, and often in a week, to ensure that the right work was being done and being done well. People didn't see this work, but know that the impact of this dedication has been felt by every person in our district. I'm not going to do the whole second page. You can read that later. As president, you also work continuously to keep the board together instead of letting division set in, which would have impaired our effectiveness. Thank you for putting the team first instead of any individual goals. And then he goes on to point out 2 very important items to highlight of your legacy. First, your consistent and rigorous evaluation across all of our educators, including setting new standards for administration evaluation processes, similar to what was in place previously for the teachers. And secondly, your instrumental leadership to guide and support the work that we're now doing around equity within our district. As president, you had the authority to move forward critical equity initiatives or to slow them down, and you chose to focus on progress in partnership with the administration and community leaders. There are many specifics that he calls out here, but I'll sum it up with say, while all of this work was clearly a team effort, you were the consistent leader during times of change and in charting out our priorities. Thank you for your leadership, Tracy, in this area and so many others. You will be very difficult to replace. So that's from Richard. So with that concluding kind of the public comment and tribute to our wonderful board members, I think Dr. Gorn wanted to say a few things, and then we'll open it up to anybody else here.
So thank you very much, and let me also...
Oh, I'm sorry. Diane, did you?
Let me introduce Diane.
Sorry. I didn't know there was another person. I'm sorry.
All right, well, I'm sorry if I am redundant, but I had to say something about both Claudia and about Tracy. I'm Diane Lacroix, and on behalf of the board of Foundation 65, I'd like to thank both Claudia and Tracy for their committed service to the District 65 School Board. While Foundation 65 is an independent entity, we follow the work of the school board very closely, and we are deeply grateful for the hours of thoughtful work all of the members do. Both Tracy and Claudia have been strong champions of literacy and arts initiatives that we fund, and we'd like to thank you for your steady support over the years. On a more personal note, I'd like to thank each of these wonderful board members for what they've brought to the work of the school board, to the children, to the educators in our community as our elected officials. Claudia, you've always brought to the table this special knowledge of the work that teachers do, and a deep understanding of how a decision at the board level can or cannot impact the classroom. You've provided insight about the everyday experience of students in the classroom and the range and diversity of their abilities and experiences. And then there's your keen sense of language, which I think serves the board really well. You have an ability to edit a phrase that gives the group pause. From a citizen's perspective, I really appreciated watching you work with other board members to move things along, and I thank you so much for your service. My thank you to Tracy stretches back many years. You preceded me as a PTA co-president at Dewey and have always been kind enough to share what you've learned about schools and governance and the importance of community support for education. You're also a tireless recruiter, and it occurs to me that you coaxed me into roles with Foundation 65 and Evanston Cradle to Career and the District 65 Strategic Planning Committee, and it's really a wonder that I answer the phone anymore at all when you call. But I do, and I always will, because you have been so dedicated to supporting our schools, from bringing wheat thins to classroom parties, to dissecting achievement reports, to hiring a great new superintendent. Your 8 years have presented numerous challenges, and I thank you for your leadership. From where I sit, I see that you have brought the school board a firm commitment to data-driven decision-making, a passion about setting high standards for all children to achieve, and a belief that this community can and must support the work of our educators. You two have both brought great skill and passion to the school board, and I'm so grateful you chose to serve in this capacity. The continuing and new board members will do a fine job. I have faith in all of them, but we'll really miss hearing your voices here on Monday nights. Good luck with wherever your passions take you next, and thank you so much.
Thank you. So now I'll turn it over to Dr. Bourne.
Thank you, and I too want to tip my hat to our two retiring board members. Tracy, who served 2 terms, 8 years, and during that time, your service included service on the District 65-202 committee, cross-district committee, the Inclusion Committee, the Park School Committee, the Green Committee, the Illinois State Assessment Review Committee, the Finance Committee Chair, Cradle to Career, and you served as president of the board. So, thank you very much. And to Claudia, who served for 4 years and served as a member of our Finance Committee, the Joint 65-202 Legislative Committee, the City School Liaison Committee, which you're going to be missing a meeting this week, the Illinois Association of School Boards, our delegate, and as vice president of the board. Tracy, yours was service to the community you grew up in, where you were educated and where your children have been educated. And it really is to your credit that you took on voluntary public service for all those Monday nights, as our colleagues have said. And the district and the community will be forever grateful. Claudia, yours was service in the district in which you taught, and providing for all of us a lens from a teacher's perspective on our work, our decision-making, and our strategic directions. It is to your credit that you took on voluntary public service, and the district and the community will be forever grateful. So thank you both very much.
Welcome. So if any members of the board have anything that they would like to say, and then we'll let our 2 retiring members have any parting words. Oh, someone's calling in.
As a new board member, I hardly knew you, but I do hope that I can count on both of you after you retire from your board service as resources. Again, I firmly believe that again you have this incredible institutional knowledge that you've gained through your service. I am a learner. I approach this as a learner with an open hat and to learn about the accomplishments that you've made, and also how I can continue furthering the work that you've done in this district on behalf of all of our kids and our families. So I appreciate you, and I really thank you for your service, and I hope I can count on you to be there when I have questions in regards to my board service.
Thank you. No, it doesn't matter. I'm just, it's not a required assignment.
All right. I'll start with Claudia since she's right here. So, I think about what I appreciate most is that you were always willing to raise your hand and ask the question. I think sometimes we go so fast through the stuff, we read it or whatever, but you would always ask the question, and I think, I don't know if everyone else would appreciate it, but you would say, just explain it again. And so, and I think it helped everyone learn, and that's probably part of being a teacher without even knowing it, so I definitely appreciate that. And then Tracy, I don't know, I used to call you my board boss, so I think it's been a good ride. I feel like everyone has learned from you. It's so funny, when I started with you and Katie both on the board, it was this powerful dynamic. And then I felt like your buddy left you, so I feel like it's only time, it's time for you to do your thing too. But I thank you for your leadership, and I thank you for, I feel like you always had just a wealth of knowledge, and you knew, you would say something about always, like almost like we've done that already. Let's slow down before we try to reinvent the wheel or whatever. So, thank you.
Continue going this way. Claudia, it's been said many times, but it is worth bearing repeating. I think the perspective that you brought to the board, not just as a teacher, but as a teacher in District 65, has been invaluable. And I know I called on you a lot in different circumstances. Can you explain this to me? Can you help me figure out what's going on here? And I will miss that, and I certainly appreciated it. I think it helped inform my decisions better and made me a better board member. So thank you for that. I've often said that I can tell that you were a really great teacher, and I'm sad that my daughter didn't have a chance to have you as a teacher at Haven. But I know that you will go on to great things and will enjoy your days as a grandma. And Tracy, thank you very much for 8 years of service. I mean, that's an incredible amount of time to dedicate to public service and to community. So thank you very much for that. I've learned a lot from watching you, and it's helped shape my perspective on board service. So thank you.
I too have had a brief but I think impactful time serving on the board with each of you. Claudia, I appreciate, as many people have said, I think that the perspective that you bring, but I also appreciate the bravery that you bring. You ask the questions that you have on your mind, you pursue the information that you are seeking, and I really appreciate you standing tall on your values, and regardless of who is in the room. And there's a lot of learning that takes place when someone's willing to do that, so I really appreciate that, and I wish you well, and I know that you're going to enjoy yourself. Maybe you can save a room for all of us in California. And Tracy, thank you so much for your years of service. Again, 8 years is incredible. This is a great deal. This is a huge commitment of time and energy, and so I thank you and your family for extending yourself in order to do this work. And I know that you started this work when your children were young, as I have as well, and so it's a tremendous commitment from you and your entire family. So thanks.
Thank you. I have a couple things I'll add. I'm trying not to be redundant here. So, Claudia, thank you for looking at each issue before us with fresh eyes and a critical perspective that comes only from an excellent educator. You brought kind of a great historical point of view that has enabled the board and administration, I think, at times to understand how our actions may be received, whether good or bad, by our staff and educators with that perspective. You've openly reflected on your own experiences as as a teacher, and how, I think more recently as we've been on this journey around equity, how intentional focus on equity would and could shape instruction differently, and that's been extremely fruitful to our discussions. And in short, you've pushed us to make decisions that were always grounded in how's this going to end up looking in the classroom and for our kids. So thank you for bringing your flawless syntax, your grace, and your heart to each and every meeting. And then Tracy, Thank you for your constant focus on how we as a district can better prepare each and every child for what comes next. Folks have already talked about your work with District 202 and really aligning, our committed joint vision with them, which is historic. Your commitment to increasing the use of rigor in data and decision-making, and your leadership during arguably the most important process of this board, which was in recruiting and ultimately hiring Dr. Gorin. That entailed a lot of time and dedication, but clearly it ended up in the right place. From our first vote, where you and I were on the opposite sides of that BMI vote, to every discussion thereafter, I've respected and it's sometimes been straight out amazed with your ability to really hone in on the essence of an issue and ask the right questions at the right time with the right intent. You've done this work over the past 8 years, and you bring unflinching passion, a deep, deep intellect, and relentless dedication. So you've really created a high bar for all of us, and thank you for that. Anyone else? I know this is like the accolades keep going. All right. Well, I believe we have some parting gifts.
Do we get to say something?
Oh, no. Yes, you do. Sorry.
One
Claudia,
last time?
Would you like to go first one last time?
Sure.
Hamilton thing?
I wrote it out so that I didn't cry. I joined District 65 as a reading, language arts, and social studies teacher at Haven Middle School in 2001. For the last 16 years, my involvement in the district has been the focus of my dedication and passion for public schools. I actually was, a long time ago, a reporter for Wisconsin, for the Milwaukee Public Television, and I won the Wisconsin School Bell Award for my reporting on education. So this goes back forever. Even after I retired in 2012, I still cared about the students and my colleagues. So when some teacher friends asked me to consider running for the school board, I researched the reality of being in this position and in the end decided yes. The decision was made easier by the fact that I didn't actually have to run. Candace, Suni, Tracy, and I faced no opposition that year. And I kept saying, I would really like to do this if I didn't have to run, and that wish came true. Evidently, District 65 school board member was not considered a plum political position. Well, maybe it's not a plum position, but it certainly has been an event-filled 4 years, starting with the sudden resignation of the previous superintendent, the search and hours of discussion and interviews that led to our selection of our current superintendent, Paul Gorin, filling 3 vacant board positions by appointment, and that includes Omar here. Developing a strategic plan, developing an equity agenda, and last but not least, thinking through a fair contract for our excellent District 65 teachers. But the most difficult issue of all was the decision that we had to go to the public with the first operating referendum to be on the Evanston ballot in 30 years. Deciding which programs and staff would be cut if the referendum did not pass proved to be the hardest decisions I faced as a board member. And I cannot adequately express the relief and joy I felt when the referendum passed with 80% of the vote. As I think the baby boomer on this board, I am in awe of the Gen Xers and millennials who formed the core of the referendum committee. Their brilliance, and I mean that, their brilliance and dedication was proven in the resulting vote. If it weren't for the fact that my sons, their wives, and an absolutely enchanting 2-year-old granddaughter had been urging me to move to California for the past 2 years, I might have run again. Because, as you all well know, there is a lot of work to be done still. But I know I'm leaving the district in very capable hands. It's time for me to find a new path. I will miss my school board colleagues, all of you, and my District 65 friends, more than I can say. Thank you all.
All right. First of all, I wanted to say thank you all for your very kind words, and I think I'm old and maybe wise enough to know that they might not all have been true, but I really appreciate them anyway. And then I also have, over the years, people have come up and said, thank you for your service. And while I loved being thanked far more than the angry emails and phone calls that I got, I still always thought it was a little undeserved, because I really do think serving on the school board for the last 8 years has been a privilege. And it has been such a privilege to engage in such an important conversation. And it has been a privilege to try to set out a vision for the school board, for the school, and to have my voice heard. So I'm really grateful for that privilege. I also, after my first couple meetings, and I probably shouldn't say this, but I came home and I thought, I'm not sure school boards are that good of an idea, because it seems like you've got 7 people weighing in on really critical ideas about education, and they don't, and this is no reflection on the board that I joined or any of you all, but we don't know as much about education as the educators in the room. But then I began to reflect on what the real role of the school board is, and I was going through some folders, old school board stuff, getting rid of, and I looked at some notes that I had written down before my launch party at Buku 8 years ago. And I had noted down a conversation that I had had with my brother-in-law, Chip Brady, and he is a longtime teacher at Evanston, a history teacher. And we had been talking about why I was running for the school board. And he said, and he'd written his master's thesis on how school communities develop after the Industrial Revolution, and how when communities were, I think he was studying the beginning of ETHS, which was in about 1924. And he was saying there was some anxiety when people were moving from these agricultural communities into cities that they would lose the sense of community. And that in fact, his thesis was what happened as communities started to build up around schools, because schools were the places people came to discuss their values and to talk about what was important to them and to make sure that their communities reflected their values. And so I really feel like the school board has been that. It certainly is in Evanston. It's where people come and they have the nastiest fights and the best conversations about what we value. And I think actually the best affirmation of our values happened this spring when the community came together and said overwhelmingly that what we value as a community is really high quality education for every student in this district. So it really has been a privilege, and when I realize when we have these conversations, sometimes they're very trivial and they're about, bus schedules or start times and stuff, but mostly they're about really weighty issues where we're all bringing our values to the table. And it's also often a reflection of some of the larger issues that are going on in the country. When I think about all our equity issues, our transgender rights, when we talk about community schools, social and emotional learning, all of these are not just weighing in on issues. They're really talking about what we bring and what we believe in. So the other things that I've watched over the years that people have mentioned, I hope continue the idea that we have to set high standards. We have to be transparent about how our kids are doing, so we see both our strengths and our challenges, and we can really direct resources where they need to go. So I'm going to enjoy watching you all in the future, and I'm very privileged to have been on this board. And now I want to thank some of the people who make all this work possible. First, the administrators. It feels so good. I'm sorry you're not all here, but it feels so good to leave such an incredibly talented group of people, and I mean to the one. And just the fact that you all are so hardworking, you're so smart, and you care so much about the kids in this community. When I watch your whirlwind schedules and the competing demands on your time and the overzealous critiques from the board, I realize it's a really hard job, but it also must be very rewarding because you're doing amazing things with the kids. So thank you so much. Second, I'd like to talk about the teachers. And when I leave the board and when my daughter graduates from Nichols next year, it really will be like leaving a family. And if you'll indulge me for a moment, the teachers that have taught my kids have been some of the most dedicated, talented educators I could ever imagine having my kids the privilege to be in a classroom with. But a couple really stories that stuck out in my mind from when teachers really went beyond what normal teachers do, and touched my life and the life of my kids. And I know I'm not alone in having these stories, so I just wanted to highlight a couple. And the first is when my oldest child was in second grade and Miss Rosario was getting married. And Miss Rosario got everyone in the class really excited about the fact she was getting married. And so after a little while, I think everyone was so excited, she thought, well, I better invite all the kids to the wedding. So she invited her entire class to the wedding, which I thought was really nice. But then the kids got really excited about going to the wedding, and then she took it a step further, and she invited all of her kids to be in the wedding. So then the kids started practicing, and they had this great drumming and this song, and they were all in the wedding. So I remember bringing my second grader to be in his teacher's wedding. But I also brought my first grader along because she wanted to watch because she was enthralled by it all. So we're sitting in the audience, and Miss Rosario comes out and says to my first grader, would you like to be in the wedding too? And so then Ella goes and joins the whole ceremony. And I thought, God, what kind of teacher would do that? Have every kid in the wedding and then go get the kid that's sitting wanting to be in the wedding in the audience and come up. So the other story I thought about was when my mom died 10 years ago, and it was really hard on the family, it was hard on my kids, and I remember standing in the line, and one of the first people who came through was Miss Cleveland, who was there for my kids, and I remember my fourth grader looking up and thinking, and the sadness wiping away from his face for the first time, because having a teacher there to support you in a moment like that is really quite amazing. And the last one was Miss Stratikos, when one of my other kids was shy and decided to try to be in a play and was really struggling a little bit. She came home from the first play and she said, Mom, guess who came to my play? Miss Stratikos came, and that was her sixth grade teacher. So I know many of you have these kind of stories, but it really has been amazing to be in this District 65 family, and I'm gonna really miss it. Staff, Adila, you've been amazing to keep the trains running on time with all the disorganization. To the other staff in all the schools who are so welcoming. And I want to give a shout out to the Nichols staff who are really, really nice and don't embarrass me when I have to bring my daughter's science books every other week because she forgets them. So I'm really appreciative to the staff. And now to the board. Ani and Sergio, it has just been a brief time, but I'm really grateful for your fresh perspectives and your new skills, and I'm going to be excited to watch what goes forward. Suni, you've brought your lawyering skills, your passion for policy, and you've made a real impact on equity and transgender rights, and that's really, really wonderful. Omar, you've been a guiding voice in a lot of our major decisions, and you have this incredible ability to come in at the right moment for maximum impact. Yeah. And I'm really impressed by that. And you've managed to balance your work and board work, which is really difficult. Claudia, it's been such a pleasure getting to know you. You've been such an important voice for the teachers, as people have said, and I really think every school board should have a teacher sitting on the school board because we really need to hear how our decisions impact the classroom, and you've done an excellent job. And I wish, like Suni, that my kids had had you in class so they could have benefited from your grammar skills too. And then Richard and Katie are not here, but I feel like I need to just talk about board members of old and my mentors because they taught me so much and they've been the greatest friends. Katie taught me how to be passionate without being divisive because she had a wonderful ability to say outlandishly controversial things and then be everyone's friend. So I really admire that about Katie. She's there, so I can say that. She also was one of the ones from the very beginning talked about bringing resources where they really were needed, and she was the one that put the measurement for the achievement gap on the strategic scorecard, which was so important. Richard showed me how to never waver from my fundamental principles, and his attention to suspension rates and discipline issues really helped change our policies. He also has been such an advocate for Park School and other issues relating to kids with special needs, so that's been essential. They also both, I think, embodied the belief that it's not about individual ego, but it's about the kids. And finally, Candace, you have been the heart of this board. You've managed to outwork any board member, probably anyone I know, and you've not only been hardworking, but you're so good at what you do. You've brought such compassion and broad perspective through your thoughts, your actions, your incredible service. You truly care about the needs and accomplishments of every child in this district. I've also never seen you pass up the opportunity to personally volunteer your time, to help someone in need, to lend a voice to those who need it most. And I know it's a silly cliche, but your dedication is so much more than talk. It is the life you lead every day, and you're an inspiration. You really are. Plus, you have a wicked... Plus, you have a wicked sense of humor, which makes you really fun to work with. And Paul, we're so lucky you decided to take the job. You have done incredible things for our partnerships, for our relationship with 202, for our equity work, and you've also withstood the sometimes critical voices of this community, which is an important fact. And you've come back to your job, and we really appreciate all the work. And you've gathered such talented administrators, teachers, and staff. And to my friends and to the community members who volunteer their time quietly, and to Books and Breakfast, to ESCA, to all the things in spite of demanding jobs, you really are what makes this school community so unique. And to my friends and family and my sister who encouraged me to run and have supported me so much in the last 8 years. And finally, to my family, I know I'm going on too long, but I had 8 years, so I get double Claudia's time. Finally, to my family, to my kids who forgave me when I came home one night and we were talking about the new PE curriculum, and we were talking about moving from games to exercising for exercise's sake, and it was late, and I said, well, my kids are so lazy they would never do that, and I came home and they'd all watched and were really mad at me. But they forgave me, so I appreciate my husband who took care of all the little kids all those long nights after very hard days. So I'm going to end with my hope for the board. And I'll read this part. I've experienced very different dynamics on several different boards, and I started my own tenure on a board with a board that was much more divided than anyone I've been on since. And through the years, I've come to realize that it is possible to work quite well with others who might not share your own perspective if everyone abides by some very basic principles. And first of all, people usually don't raise their hands to be on the school board if they don't care about the kids. They don't do it for the money. They don't do it to win the popularity contest. I think the most important thing a board member can do is to hold on to the common assumption that each one of us has the best interests of the students in mind. That even if you disagree about what the path forward looks like, you have roughly the same goal. That is to see every student reach his or her potential in life. And I know it sounds cliched, but when it comes to a group like this, we all agree on much more than we disagree about, and what is so essential is making a board function well. It's really the communication and mutual respect. And finally, what makes our community unique is our tolerance, our openness in honoring diverse points of view, and our honesty in engaging in issues that affect the future of all our children. When we shut down debate, when we lose our ability to truly listen to each other, we do a disservice to those who are impacted by our decisions the most, and that is the children. For it is only through an open dialogue and respect for other points of view do we reach the best conclusions. Which is why we are all sitting here, because we truly believe in the boundless potential of all our children and in our solemn responsibility to help them reach their goals. So thanks, and I have to quote my mentor, Katie Bailey, one more time. Say, I really look forward to watching the work of this new board from home on TV with a glass of wine in my hand.
We have some gifts, so if you have you can use this for your glass of wine. No, just kidding. Where are all the things? Oh, I get a little placard. We'll provide you. Oh, that's lovely. Thank you so much. Oh, the placard.
I think we want a picture with the whole.
Okay.
have to, do you take over?
I just read.
So I get the honor of reading the official election results. Based on the consolidated election results from the Cook County Clerk's Office, the following individuals secured a seat to the Evanston-Skokie School District 65 Board of Education. Candace Chow, Lindsay Cohen, Suni Kartha, and Joseph Hilpern have been elected to a 4-year term commencing today until the 2021 consolidated election. Anya Tanya Vudi has been elected to a 2-year unexpired term commencing today until the 2019 consolidated election.
I move that the Board of Education appoint Paul Goron as President Pro Tem and Adila as Secretary Pro Tem.
Ms. Garrison?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Hernandez?
Yes.
Ms. Tanya Vudi?
Yes.
Ms. Kartha?
Yes.
Ms. Quattrocki?
Yes.
And Ms. Chow?
Yes.
Now I have the honor of swearing in the new board, and I'm going to ask that Joey and Lindsay join us as well, perhaps up at the microphone there. You go up there. And should we do this one at a time or just all collectively? We're going to do this collectively, and so I'm going to ask the new board members, Candace Chow, Suni Karta, Anya Tanavuti, Joey Halpern, and Lindsay Cohen, to read the oath, and I'll read along with you, although we'll pause and you can put your name out in the, after we say the word "I." But we'll go through the following oath of office. So if you will, I.
I, Candace Chow, do solemnly
Swear that I will faithfully discharge the duties
as a
of
member of the Evanston-Skokie School District 65 Board of Education
in accordance with the Constitution
of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Illinois, and the laws of the State of Illinois to the best of my ability.
I further swear
That
I shall respect taxpayers' interests by serving as a faithful protector of the school district's assets.
I shall encourage and respect the free expression of opinion by my fellow board members and others
who seek a hearing before the board while respecting the privacy of its employees.
I shall recognize that a board member has no legal authority as an individual and that decisions can be made only by a majority vote at a public board meeting. And I shall abide by majority decisions of the board while retaining the right to seek changes in such decisions through ethical and constructive channels.
All right. I move that the Board of Education adjourn sine die at 6:58 p.m. today, May 1st, 2017.
Second.
Ms. Garrison?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Hernandez?
Yes.
Ms. Tanya Vudi? Yes. Ms. Kartha? Yes. Ms. Quattrocki?
Yes.
Ms. Chow?
Yes. Motion carries 7-0.
Carries. So we will now reconvene in a second.
You know.
Ladies and gentlemen, I call the meeting of the 2017 Board of Education to order at 7:02 a.m. p.m. I'm just thinking about the night ahead of us, so p.m., sorry. With roll call, please.
Mr. Brown?
Here.
Mr. Hernandez?
Here.
Ms. Kartha? Here. Ms. Chow?
Here.
Ms. Tanya Vudi?
Here.
Ms. Cohen?
Here.
Mr. Halpern?
Here. And as we move forward in the special reorganization meeting, we will start with formal presentations from the public. We have a maximum of 20 minutes assigned for this, and so we'll work on the time. 2.5 minutes each, and we will time you. We'll start with Bridget Nelson, and Carlos Briones is on deck. And if you're not going to speak, that's pass. And is Carlos here? Please. And Don, you're on deck if you're speaking.
Hello, my name is Carlos Briones. I'm a Mexican, an immigrant, and a gay man. I share this because I know that the school board says they pay particular attention to voices from these marginalized communities. As a member of these communities and as a chair of the Diversity Council at Oakton Community College for the past 4 years, I strongly support Candace Chow to continue serving as school board president. My reasons are clear: democracy, results, equity. First, regarding democracy. In the election held last month, Candace Chow finished first overall in the contested race, earning 17% more votes than the other candidate for board president tonight, Ms. Garza, a sizable margin that reflects the confidence the community has in her. Of note, Ms. Chow defeated Ms. Garza in every single ward in the city, including the 5th ward, whose voice is too often disregarded. You can let their voices be heard tonight. Next, regarding results, Candace's leadership helped the board achieve many important outcomes. First, her efforts for the past year resulted in a successful community vote on the referendum. While many board members supported its passage, none worked harder than Candace. She played a lead role in the completion of the teacher contract negotiations this fall, avoiding a strike and giving the teachers and community all a fair deal. And finally, she also served as the lead for the board in developing the 5-year strategic plan. These are just some examples of her direct involvement and leadership. Finally, Candace has been a champion for equity, not simply in rhetoric, but in actions and, again, results. The equity work that has been initiated or extended in the year that Candace has served as president includes Equity Works audits at every school, the authoring of the Educational Equity Statement, new professional development opportunities, expansion of restorative justice and culturally responsive instruction programs, and restorations of the reading specialist positions. The board president has wide influence over issues that the board must approve, and Candace not only supported each of these, but advocated for their development and expansion. I also believe it is important for equity that the board leadership reflects our diverse community. For nearly the past 4 years, an openly gay man served as VP, and as I understand, a Black woman will next serve as VP. I commend the board for supporting this diversity in their leadership for the past few years and coming year too. So as you reflect on democracy, results, and equity, I hope these reflections lead you to support Candace Chow for president.
Don Koenigsegg, please.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Dawn Koenigsegg, and I live at 650 Michigan Avenue. In essence of time, I'm going to get straight to the point and keep this very short. I'm here tonight to urge you to vote for Candace Chow for president. I feel strongly that our community needs consistency in the role of president as we wrap up an incredibly challenging year and move forward. As evidenced by the passage of the referendum, the community clearly believes in District 65. Historically, a president serves 2 years, as there is a steep learning curve during the first year. This would be Candace's second year. I believe the District 65 community will be stronger by continuing with Candace's leadership and capitalizing on all that she learned during her first year as president. I understand that leadership would be challenged if there were fundamental policy differences. However, there is no evidence of such policy differences, but rather broad consensus on her leadership and effectiveness. You have an incredible team of seasoned and new board members, ready to serve every child, every day, whatever it takes. Let's make sure District 65 is the best it can be. I urge you tonight to vote for Candace Chow for president.
Amber Yancey Carroll. Amber Yancey Carroll. And Mike Gribble is on deck, please.
Hi, I have bronchitis, so I apologize. First, I'd like to congratulate the board on the overwhelming support you received as from support of the district and by the Evanston community. Your vision for the district was championed by each of you, and we are grateful. I would also like to congratulate you each on your individual wins. I'm speaking tonight as a mother, resident, and voter. I would like to urge you to vote for Candace Chow for District 65 Board President. Candace's leadership over the past year and throughout her tenure has been resolute. She has helped usher the district through one of the greatest fiscal challenges while preventing significant cuts to the classroom. Her work as a finance chair laid the foundation for the board's educating the community about the fiscal challenges the district was facing and outlined a potential path forward. Further, her work on the strategic plan and leadership along with the board led to a resounding victory on the referendum for the district and the board just past month. She herself garnered unquestionable support from every corner of Evanston. The community overwhelmingly supported the board's vision for the district and entrusted the district with a substantial amount of funding based on that message and vision. The community's unwavering support in terms of votes for the referendum was in large part due to the expectation that Candace would continue to be at the helm to lead us through the other side of the fiscal crisis. I personally believe it would be disingenuous to now vote her out as board president when she overwhelmingly had the largest showing of support in a contested race. I would like to think that the board values and respects the community's voices and votes as much as our money. I would question my own support for future referendums or initiatives if the community's voice was so easily disregarded. I am a Black mother new to the district, and I have learned frankly witnessed inequity and challenges at my own school. I have found Candace's vision for addressing inequities to be compelling. District 65 has inequity challenges whose roots are deep and reach well beyond the school walls. From what I can tell, it was not created overnight and cannot be solved overnight with easy fixes. However, Candace's commitment to every child in the district is unquestionable. She was unwavering in her commitment to ensure proper funding of Evanston Public Schools to be able to adequately address inequity challenges, while at the same time being sensitive to the financial burden to some in the community. As a community member, she appreciates the unfortunate burden the referendum may have on some in the community, and has begun conversations with community leaders of a variety of organizations to identify possible options for some sort of relief to those most vulnerable by the impeding property increase. Further, I appreciate how she has driven the board towards more evidence-based decision-making. For example, advocating for more robust data in evaluating disparities and suspensions, and looking more closely at the achievement gap, which is necessary to address inequity issues in a meaningful and impactful way. I believe issues as important as inequity and the achievement gap warrant such methodological and empirical approaches in contrast to symbolic gestures. I have been a resident in Evanston since 2008. In recent years, the board has become more functional than I can remember, and I believe this is in large part based on Candace's leadership and presence. I believe her continued leadership will give the board the much-needed continuity and respect from the Evanston community at a time when it is needed most. I fear that the alternative is a parent community that will be more divisive and polarized. Thank you for your time.
Mike Gribble, followed by Andrea Manelli. Mike Gribble. Okay, Andrea Manelli.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Andrea Manelli. I'm a King Arts parent. I reside at 2819 Lincoln Street, Evanston. First, I want to congratulate the newly elected, re-elected, or recently appointed board members. And Omar, thank God you're here too. There's a lot of talent and diverse backgrounds represented on this board, and for that, I'm truly grateful. Your responsibility is an awesome one, and at this time, even more weighty than in the past. Through the referendum and the recent elections, the residents of Evanston spoke loudly in support of what they believe in, and I urge you to listen to their voices and make sure the new funding is wisely spent and that the administration is supported in the execution of its strategic plan. I know you will grapple with many important decisions, and tonight is your first one. The question of board leadership is critical, and I'm standing here in support of Candace Chow as board president for another year term. There is no one better than Candace to continue to lead the board through this critical post-referendum period. She has the experience of having guided the residents in district through the strategic planning process, leading the finance committee, and now as board president, having successfully led through not only difficult teacher negotiations, but the all-important referendum. There are many important decisions following the referendum that will have to be made immediately. And Candace has the history and knowledge of the various conversations and the decisions leading up to these current ones. Most importantly, she has led through times of truly difficult decisions, which is a critical base of experience. It's easy to talk, bring up objections and problems, much more difficult to resolve them. Find consensus and move forward. To not take advantage of this experience and expertise for one more year would frankly seem to me to be irresponsible on the part of the board, highly irregular considering past practice, which has reasons, including continuity and knowledge, and of unsound justification. I can say from my experience, having served on both public and private boards and nonprofit boards, that to bypass someone after a highly successful experience would be unheard of and attract extreme scrutiny. In addition, the support of her leadership is widespread in this town. She was the top vote getter in the election of the positions that were contested. She traveled far and wide supporting Dr. Gorin to tirelessly support, explain the referendum. She listened, explained, and truly expressed interest and concern for issues of all stakeholders, but was also knowledgeable and articulate about the realities facing the district and the complexity of the decision-making that you all face and that the administration grapples with every day. As the liaison to King Arts, where my son is at school, Candace has been a champion, listening to all constituents and helping lead the way on what I consider to be the school pushing for and exhibiting some of the most progressive and inclusive policies in the district. She was always fair and realistic, advising King Arts of things that were being done which we might not have known about, of explaining limitations or hard realities of budget and policies. And she did all of this and answered our every call while leading the Finance Committee, serving as board president, or leading strategic planning. Board members, many of you are new, and with all due respect, the learning curve is big. I am grateful you have chosen to serve. I am in awe of your talents. I am really confident of the future. Your job is to make decisions, often really hard decisions, with the best information you have, guided by your intellect and conscience, and listening to your constituents. I truly encourage you to give this critical decision the thoughtfulness and reflection it deserves, and hope that you vote to elect Candace Chow for another year. Please know this board and this administration has my full support, and you may call on me anytime, and I'll do anything you need. Thank you.
The final two public speakers, Kathy McDermott, followed by Andrew Badiz. Kathy McDermott.
Good evening. I want to say thank you to the board, and thank you for wanting to do this job. I mean, seriously, this is a very, very difficult job, and with really high expectations. I'm here to speak in support of Candace Chow for board president. And I've been up here a couple of times, and I think both times that I've been up here, Candace and I have not been on the same page. But I have never questioned her commitment to our schools, to our students, or her qualifications for this position, or her commitment to the fiscal solvency of our district. She works tirelessly, and everybody said that, but it's so true, in support of this district, not just as a board member or in board president, but as a parent actively involved in her daughter's schools, through volunteering in the classroom, to PTA President Kingsley, through her church, where she's actively involved, and many other volunteer organizations. It's truly a wonder how she has time for all of this. Her drive and her commitment are matched only by her understanding of the complex issues facing our district, and there's many. She has a deep understanding of the financial issues, the equity issues, and of educational best practices. She puts the time and effort into researching these complex issues and understanding the problems and potential solutions. It's one thing to believe in something, it's entirely different to believe in something and have the knowledge, facts, and understanding of best practices to back it up. We, the voters, passed the referendum, and that is great, great news. We elected you to be good stewards of our tax dollars. We voted for you to work together, to work with the administration, all while holding them accountable. Candace's educational and work experience, combined with her extensive volunteer experience, makes her uniquely qualified to serve as board president. I hope you will all vote for her this evening. Thank you.
And our final speaker, Andrew Bediz, please.
Good evening. My name is Andrew Bediz, and first, thanks for all your service. I'm actually from Evanston. I'm a product here, born and raised, went to District 65, went to ETHS, and now I'm back with my family. So this is an important matter to me. Now, I'm here to support Candace Chow. Yeah, I sent all of you a letter earlier today anticipating that I was going to miss this meeting. I'm a coach of a Little League baseball team, and one good news from this rain is that it ended up canceling that game, and so now I'm here tonight. Now, Mr. Hernandez, thanks for your reply on that as well. I appreciate that. I heard about this presidency being up for debate, and frankly, I was stunned. It kind of took me aback. I never thought I'd be speaking at a school board meeting, and I'm sure Candace never thought I'd be speaking on her behalf. You see, I first met Candace at a referendum meeting, and I had some questions. Some of them not so easy, but Candace answered them all. I ended up voting for the referendum. I said to my wife right before that vote, if this referendum fails, Candace needs to step down. Leadership needs to change. But something quite different happened. It won by 80%, as we've heard tonight. And it was under her leadership. And that's worth something. You see, I'm a big believer that past performance is a predictor of future results. I'm sure there are a lot of capable candidates, right? But we got a pitcher here as a baseball coach, right, that's given up no runs in the 6th inning. And I'm not going to pull that pitcher, right? Others may do a fine job, but why are we leaving it to hope when Candace has results? I ask you tonight to keep Candace in the presidency. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you very much. As we move forward to the election of officers, I'd like to say a word or two. I want to say as superintendent and on behalf of the staff and the administration that I look forward to serve with enthusiasm this new board. And I want to welcome Lindsay and Joey to the board, and look forward to the work that we have ahead. I look forward to working with the board as we accelerate the momentum that we've made on our work that includes our K-3 literacy programming, which we talked about last week, our focused attention to children at or below the 25th percentile, our commitment to social emotional learning and restorative justice practices, and our equity and diversity training that will reach all of our staff as we are committed to do so. And indeed, as several of the speakers have said, we have financial stability and sustainability for 8 years. So we have a lot before us to really move forward on the agendas that we have set forth. Our work on achievement and equity requires all of us to take risks. It requires all of us to build trust. And it requires all of us to work together as a team, as a board team, as an administrative team. And I want to make sure that from my voice you hear that I look forward on behalf of all of us who work for the children and the families of District 65 to this next chapter. With that, I'll move to the election of officers. And for President, Ms. Chow and Ms. Carta have submitted a letter of interest in serving as President of the District 65 School Board. Are there any other nominations, including self-nominations, for this position? The teachers pause. We will now take a vote to elect a board president for the duration of 1 year. For the vote, please indicate Chow or Carta as your selection.
Mr. Brown?
Chow.
Mr. Hernandez?
Carta.
Ms. Cartha? Cartha. Ms. Chow?
Chow.
Ms. Tanya Budi?
Cartha.
Mr. Cohen? Ms. Cohen?
Chow.
Mr. Hilburn?
Cartha.
And now for do we do the shifts? So the results of the election are 4 votes for Carta and 3 votes for Chow. So Suni Carta has assumed presidency of the school board. And now the board president-elect actually calls for the election of the vice president.
Ms. Tanya Vudi has submitted a letter of interest in serving as the Vice President of the District 65 School Board. Are there any other nominations, including self-nominations, for this position? We will now take a vote to elect Ms. Tanya Vudi as Vice President for the duration of 1 year.
Mr. Brown?
So what do I? Oh, yes.
Mr. Hernandez?
Yes.
Ms. Cartha?
Yes.
Ms. Chow?
Yes.
Ms. Tanya Budi?
Yes.
Ms. Cohen?
Yes.
Mr. Hilburn?
Yes.
So that Ms. Tanya Vudi becomes our next Vice President, 7-0.
I move that the Board of Education accept the recommendation and elect Adila Qureshi as Secretary for the Evanston-Skokie School District 65 Board of Education until its next reorganization meeting in 2018.
Second.
Mr. Brown? Mr. Hernandez?
Yes.
Ms. Cartha?
Yes.
Ms. Chow?
Yes.
Ms. Tanya Budi?
Yes.
Ms. Cohen?
Yes.
Mr. Hilburn?
Yes.
We'll move on to adoption of the Code of Conduct for members of school boards. Joey, would you like to take that?
I move that the Board of Education adopt the attached Code of Conduct recommended by the Illinois Association of School Boards.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Hernandez?
Yes.
Ms. Cartha?
Yes.
Ms. Chow?
Yes.
Ms. Tanya Budi?
Yes.
Ms. Cohen?
Yes.
Mr. Hilburn?
Yes.
Approval to move into closed session May 20th, 2017 for our board retreat.
I move that the Board of Education recess into executive session at 8 a.m. Saturday, May 20th, 2017 for the purpose of board self-evaluation.
Is there a second?
I second.
Mr. Hernandez?
Yes.
Ms. Cartha?
Yes.
Ms. Chow?
Yes.
Ms. Tanya Vudi?
Yes.
Ms. Cohen?
Yes.
Mr. Hilburn?
Yes.
Motion carries. Before we move on to our discussion items, I would like to make a brief statement. It is with great humility and with many thanks to my board colleagues that I assume this role of board president. Thank you to all the community members who are here. I know there are several important issues of equity and inclusivity being discussed at other city government meetings, and I appreciate your choice to be engaged in this transition. I welcome our newest board members, and as we embark on our work together, it is my hope that we keep the following important tenets foremost in our minds. That our primary purpose is to support high-quality education for all students in our schools, with a particular focus on identifying and removing barriers to an equitable learning environment. That we are a 7-member board, each of us with different lived experiences and perspectives that deserve to be equally valued and considered as we make important policy and financial decisions, and that our accomplishments belong to all of us, and our strength is in our collective voice and action. That we lead a district of enormously talented educators, both in and out of our classrooms, who have expertise that can and should inform our decisions. And that we sit here as representatives of a rich, diverse community of engaged and committed stakeholders, who also offer valuable lived experiences and perspectives that we should always be willing to hear and embrace, whether laudatory or expressing concerns. Over the coming weeks, I plan to work with each and every one of my board colleagues and Dr. Gorin to prepare our board agenda for the coming year in an open process that ensures that all of our priorities are included and given appropriate time to discuss and debate. I look forward to discussing how we can improve collaboration amongst each other and with all of our educator colleagues. Being mindful of the fiscal stewardship that we all owe our community that so overwhelmingly came together to support public education and make sure that our schools are fully funded, I look forward to exploring ways to make our work more transparent and inclusive of the many voices in our community, particularly the historically underrepresented. There is no question that the work of our district, as encompassed in our strategic plan and equity agenda, is important and impactful. At least as important as what we do is how we do it. I believe we can create systems and processes that more fully engage and invite the expertise of one another and our stakeholders. And I'm eager to help develop that culture of work on our board. So thank you.
No, please. I too just wanted to make a statement before moving on. It's a tremendous honor and privilege to have the opportunity to serve as vice president of this board. I accept this opportunity with incredible respect and appreciation for the talent and perspective that my board colleagues, our district educators and administration, our support professionals, community partners and leaders, parents, and children bring to the work that we do. I am committed to being an advocate for inclusive and transparent values and practices in District 65. I deeply believe in the importance of interdisciplinary board, one that leverages all of the talents and perspectives to pursue informed solutions in collaboration with a wide representation of stakeholders. If we are truly to benefit from the richness of our community, diverse perspectives and expertise, then we must be intentional and inclusive in our culture of work. And I'm looking forward to standing tall on these values in the work with the board and in support of Ms. Cartha. As we move forward, I understand that we have important work to do, questions to ask and responsibilities to rise to. We need to work to ensure we are protective of our community's cultural richness, which includes our socioeconomic diversity. We have a glaring gap in the opportunity to achieve, which most distinctly falls along the lines of racial and ethnic lines in our district. And we need to be aware of how it affects every single child And we need to take that on in an inclusive and empathetic way. And we have a responsibility to steward the funding that has been committed and entrusted to District 65 by our community. We have to continue to meet the high standards to rigorously and holistically educate every child and to move forward with transparency and information and process. We must not just be transparent, must not be transparent and inclusive in name only. We must both speak and work in ways that demonstrate our clear commitments. I understand that these responsibilities are many, yet this is the truth of an elected office. Our obligation is to serve and to represent this community within this institution. No more and no less. And at the end of the day, though I humbly realize I have been given considerable voice by our community, I also understand that I am but one of 7. Each of us having been voted onto this board as peers and as human beings to represent our values. Every single one of us has a say in what happens, and that is why we are here. This is the beauty of our democracy, and I am honored to be a part of it.
Is anybody else? Does anybody else have any comments before we go on to our discussion items? Okay, so we will move on to a few items of business that we have regarding committee appointments. Let's go. I guess we can just go. The best way to do this is I put down a list of, I have who is already currently serving on any committees. So I guess for continuing board members, do you have any requests? I know, Sergio, we talked about you moving off of finance and chairing policy. Is that still something
I'd be
you would
interested
be?
in doing some of the work, chairing the policy committee.
And Candace chairing finance?
I'd be willing to, but we haven't really talked with our new board members about where their interests are, so.
Want to start?
I would be interested in serving on the finance committee.
Finance? All right, excellent. And then I think Anya, you expressed interest on finance as well. Well, Omar isn't here, but he is currently on policy, so I will assume that he wants to continue in that role. And then, so Lindsay, that leaves.
I'm interested in finance as well. I have an MBA in finance.
Right. Would you be willing to serve on policy, however, though? Because that's where we have the, no?
I have significant finance experience. I don't have any policy experience.
Well.
I'd be happy to serve on policy.
Okay. Thank you. All right, moving on to city school liaison. I think Claudia and Omar are currently serving on that.
I wouldn't mind serving
You would,
school city liaison.
Cindy, can I ask, since this is a discussion item, I thought past practice typically would say what we're interested in, then you can look at, as opposed to making the final decisions tonight, because folks that are new may not even know what these committees are.
We can.
So that we could say our interest, and then over the next several weeks, we can review them and solidify it.
That's fine. Does anybody else have an interest on city school?
I would like to serve on city school liaison again, if there's no.
Did anybody else have an interest?
I'll throw my hat in there, but we'll see how everything
We'll
else
see how it shakes out. Anybody else for city school? Okay. Joint 65202, I would be interested in serving on that one.
I would as well.
and Anya. Is there anybody else who would be interested? Okay.
I would be interested in that one as well.
Okay. Park Advisory, Sergio, you're currently on that.
Yeah, I'd like to continue there as well.
I don't think you've actually had a chance to go to a meeting yet. Since
We're about to have one
We're
in
about
May.
to have one, I
Yeah,
think,
yeah,
in May.
so, yeah.
Is anybody else? I think I am currently on that one, and I would be interested in, I'd be continuing to serve on that. I suppose I should leave Omar as city school since he is currently on that one. Anya, you are, I think we only have one board member on the Head Start Parent Policy Committee, and that's Anya. Okay. Is anybody else interested in that one? I don't know if we could have two, I suppose.
You know what,
Sergio?
I'd be interested as well.
Okay. Claudia was our IASB delegate. Does anybody else want to step in and take?
I'm happy to do that.
And then Claudia was also our Foundation 65 representative.
I'd be happy to do that.
Anybody else? I went through those last two quickly. Was there anybody else who wanted interest in either IASB delegate or Foundation 65? Okay. Candace, you're currently the EdRed representative. Is that something you're interested in continuing?
If someone else wants to do it, that's fine. But I'm willing to continue doing it. So I don't think we need more than one. So
I don't think.
Depends on how many.
You'd be interested?
Do that right, yeah.
Okay.
Take it over.
Sergio, you're taking on everything here.
Yeah,
we have to.
Done, that's it.
No, we'll work it all out to make sure you're not on every committee. And then currently, Anya and I are on the community schools, but is there anybody else interested? The Evanston Community Schools Initiative Leadership Council.
I wouldn't mind moving back
onto that.
Evanston Community Schools.
And then would you
You
be able to
probably
stay on?
aren't going to want to stay on so many committees.
Right, no, so that makes sense. And then I saw we had on here the Joint District 65-202 Legislative Committee. I don't know I don't think we had anybody on that.
I don't think
But
it
is that
exists.
I think it doesn't exist anymore, does it? Okay, so that's just old. Okay,
And just so board members know, on this Wednesday, the 3rd at 5:30, we do have a city school liaison committee meeting here. And you're
Okay.
all more than welcome to come, and then we'll figure out the
we'll
direct
figure out who
assignment.
the official,
Engaging conversation. We host the May meeting, so that's 5:30 right here in this room.
okay, so that one we will determine sooner rather than later. Okay, and then we have the school liaison assignments.
I also.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
I talked about this a little bit previously, but given that equity is something that has really become a part of our larger conversation, I'm curious if we want to make board liaison seats for the district equity leadership team. And I wanted to open that up for discussion here. I thought that it would be a great way for us to have a more direct way of communicating as a collective, to have a seat at the table in that way, to both learn and share.
How does information currently get shared between the district leadership team and the board?
We bring it forward at the board, and
Is there a disservice to the honesty of that conversation by having a board member present?
I appreciate that. I don't know. I mean, I think there's a really healthy and rich and open dialogue that goes on in that room. So it'd be worth Joyce and I and Corey coming back honestly and saying that, because I appreciate the question.
I would just hate for a board member to join a committee that they haven't been on and for the conversation to be stymied for whatever feelings that might create with a group that's already been formed.
And there's lots of really important initial momentum in this group, which is very transparent around issues of race, around privilege, around identity, that we don't want to hamper.
That's what I'm saying. Those are important issues, and it takes a while for a group to sometimes start talking about them.
Right.
And
I mean, based on that, what I'd love to do is continue with the district leadership team, the equity leadership team as is, but also to call the question within the equity leadership team and see how we can do that. And maybe there's another avenue for that level of engagement as well.
Right, and if it's more about the board hearing more about the function of that group, then maybe if it's not having somebody on the committee, maybe there's a different conduit for communication to update the board on the progress of the committee and what the goals are.
Perhaps. I would certainly welcome hearing back from the committee. I think there's also another equity committee.
There's
There's
an external advisory committee, which SUNY has
I
sat
sit
on.
on,
Yeah.
yes. I guess the only, I appreciate the point being brought up about the DELT. I know the last time we had an update was actually the last policy committee, I believe, where the draft equity policy came, and I do think there could be some value in having a board member on that committee, because otherwise, I would hate for there to be a perception that the work is happening and then all of a sudden it comes to the board, and because maybe we have questions or want to reframe how some things are being done on it, that it then calls into question the work of the committee. I wouldn't want to dishonor the work that's already been happening by coming kind of in at the last minute with a bunch of questions and changes, and having a board member who is on the committee to convey some of those policy directives that we have on our minds might be beneficial to the consistent flow of information and work of that committee.
If we can.
So it's something to think about.
I'd like to put it on the table with the committee and then come back and have a conversation around this table.
Right. Sounds good. That makes sense. Yeah. All right. Any other thoughts on that?
Could we also add the external advisory as part of an actual, if you or others are going to serve on as members of that committee, we should put it on our standing list.
Yeah.
And I believe currently that's me and I think Omar, although I don't believe he's been to one of the meetings, so we may
I'll need to
consider. All right, any other thoughts on committees or committee appointments? Okay, then let's move on to school liaison assignments. Again, going through, we have the spaces for the outgoing board members. So I don't know if we want to just fill those in with people, if there's anybody who is currently on as a school liaison where you want a new one. I don't know how long we've all been on as the liaisons of these particular schools. So does any current or continuing board member have a request?
Do we want to do the same thing as the committees and maybe give it some thought and revisit them either the 8th or the 20th?
Right, and tee it up for either for the 8th or the 22nd.
Okay. So Bessie Rhodes is currently one that is open. I was thinking of taking that one. I actually used to be the liaison for Bessie Rhodes, so I was thinking of taking that on again. Does anybody have any objection to that, or? And also for the newer board members, generally speaking, we are not the liaisons to our children's schools. So actually that's one would come up, I think that. Shoot is Candace.
Yes. Do we all have a list? Okay.
It's in the.
I actually.
But the board packet doesn't have the current members who are the.
I see, okay, gotcha.
I looked it up online and.
I'd be happy to continue at Shoot.
To continue, okay. DAWS. I am currently the DAWS liaison, but I was thinking if one of the new board members wanted to take that one on, if I take over Bessie Rhodes. So Joey? Okay. And then Dewey needs a liaison. Lindsay, would you be interested in?
Happy to.
Okay. Anya, you are JEH. Your daughter is that?
We're not in the.
Oh, okay. So you want to continue on?
Yeah.
Or did you have an interest in being the JEH liaison? Thinking about it?
I'm fine if we both put our hats in the ring and then see how things shake out if you're interested.
Yeah, we can see.
So, I got a date next week with the co-PTA presidents over at Lincoln Woods, so I'm going to maintain that one. But is it possible to also do JEH, or?
Yeah, we can look, because you've got a couple of.
I'm going to have to rethink some of my.
I'll put you down as we go through, and we'll see.
Yeah, but put me down. I don't want to stretch myself too thin.
Okay.
I committed to a couple of committees, and but
Okay.
yeah, we'll discuss.
So we'll leave that one as a question for right now. Haven is open. I've written Sergio's name down. I think I did not put you down because, although you don't have a student there yet, so I suppose you
I
could.
don't know what the best practice is if they're going to be there. I would like to do it.
Okay.
But
So we'll go with Lindsay. Candace, would you like to stay on at King Lab or King Arts?
Yes, indeed.
All right. Kingsley has an opening, so I was thinking Joey, if you wanted to. Lincoln is an open one. Lindsay, that would put you on 3 schools, which I think is probably the max that would you?
what's the Park Advisory Council? Did I miss that? Or is that not part of
Were you
committee
interested in
assignment?
serving on the park? We talked about that in the committee
Sorry that I
appointments.
missed that. Yes, I am interested in that
Name on
one, but sorry, just to make sure, because I'm new, so I'll ask the dumb questions.
Okay. But then, yeah, Park then separately has a liaison, so, but we'll get to that. So, is Lincoln, does anybody have any?
I'm happy to be wherever they open.
Okay, we'll put Joey or Anya, see how that shakes out. Sergio, you're at Lincolnwood currently, and you wanted to stay there, you just said? Okay. Candace, you're at Nichols? I have Omar down at Oakton. Are his kids at Oakton, though?
Yes.
Omar?
Yes.
They are.
Yeah.
So, and I think we have you down at Willard, which your daughter isn't there yet, but will be there. So would you be willing to switch?
Though we have like a year and a half.
Well, then
she won't be there in the fall.
To
but-
get Omar off of.
No, I'm happy to switch. Happy to get to know.
So, put Anya there and Omar there. And then Omar is also at Orrington, unless anybody wants to step in and take over that, I will keep him on there. Sergio, you are the liaison to Park. Lindsay, did you have an interest, though, in serving as the liaison or just serve on the advisory committee, or both?
I would prefer the advisory committee.
Okay.
But I'd be happy to take over for the liaison if that didn't work out. I can play ball there.
Okay. I am the liaison to both Rice and Walker, and I'm happy to continue on those unless somebody wants to step in. And then Omar is also at Washington, so. And then if Omar's at Willard, that's all of our schools. Does anybody have any questions or comments or thoughts? Are we good on that? Okay, so we'll figure out the JEH and the Lincoln piece, and then otherwise, I think we are set on those. So we will make the final decision on committee appointments and school liaison assignments at the May 8th working board meeting. All right. So moving on to the next discussion item, the draft 2017-18 board meeting calendar, which we will be approving at the 2017-18, or I'm sorry, we'll be approving this at the May 22nd regular board meeting. So we have the dates in our packet, and then I suppose we can look at the workflow schedule. Paul, did you have any comments on?
No, I think we've agreed over the last couple of years to flow as we're doing. In the meeting, right now it looks as though we're fine. The hesitation in my voice is what are the responsibilities we have in the evenings that cause, it's just hard to, after a board meeting, if we have a city schools liaison or a park meeting early in the morning. So I need to sort of balance all that off. So I'll be prepared to be more articulate on the 22nd.
Okay. And I think we'll have, hopefully, an opportunity at our board retreat a little bit to also talk about agenda and workflow and how we're going to divide up responsibilities and
I think
such.
that's right.
So I think we'll have more of an opportunity. In the meantime, though, does anybody have any initial thoughts or comments to offer?
I mean, my one comment is it does, as we think about our going forward, how we as a staff have enough time to do the type of work that we need to do and to be able to respond to questions, concerns, constituents, stakeholders, et cetera. That takes time, and that takes time to do that work well and respectfully and well.
Right.
And so we will want to think about the pace of these meetings as we're doing the work. And then we'll want to think about the work as we look at the large agenda. We may want to actually prioritize several very high priority items that we're working on over a period of time that we can really focus on. I mean, in some ways, that's what the referendum was, that we had a task that we were all working on and we had several months to work on it. And that might be a way to really think and rethink the work that we're doing.
Right.
How many of the items from this nice master list are typical carryover that require more update work rather than like developing a full presentation? Because that, the workload is different and you've got some new cabinet members.
Yeah.
That's going to create some institutional knowledge gaps.
Yeah, so I hate to answer it this way, it depends. So it depends a little bit on what sort of progress we've made on some of the work. Some of it is routine. We'll come back and we'll report on, fill in the blank, whether it's the Equity Advisory Committee or the work that we're doing at CAC or whatever we're doing. And some of it is the larger agenda that we as an administration with the board with the administration are embracing. And we haven't had time we do our initial planning after we hear some of your brainstorming. We do our initial planning right after school's out. So I'm not yet ready to say, and here's what we want to do.
I feel like I might have known the answer to that when I asked it, and I just, I want to make sure that as your new team gets situated, there's going to be a new CFO and the financial updates, like that's a lot of regular information. Seems like whatever we decide is the order of events for the upcoming year, we're probably going to need a September, August kind of chance for you to revise that.
Correct.
Based on
I think that's right.
The work that you've done from now till then.
And I think if we go back to some of my earlier comments where we are keenly focused on achievement, the opportunity gaps, the equity work, the work below the 25th percentile, the social emotional learning, we've got a full and robust agenda as we move forward. So how do we pick and choose what we can do, and then how do we have enough time to do the type of work and the type of engaged work that we need to do? So we need a little time to plan that, and we're winding down a long and difficult and challenging year, and so to wind up, we need a little time to plan.
Yeah, Candace.
Well, I just wanted to make sure I'm understanding what we're talking about, the meeting calendar, which is really just the meeting.
Right, the meeting dates is what we have to finalize.
Meeting
but
calendar is separate. Separate.
And we'll present that later in the summer.
We'll
yeah.
get to later.
So I guess you can tweak whatever dates needed to be tweaked on here by the 22nd. We'll have more opportunities to discuss the actual the workflow and the agenda again. I anticipate that will be a focus of our board retreat work, as well as over the next several weeks we'll be in contact, and everyone can reach out to me to let me know what the priorities are for discussion for the upcoming year.
Just one other thing, so that there are no dates for the Joint District 65-202 committee, and I think there's some additional dates that were proposed. We've typically in the past done 3 or 4 3 meetings.
Three.
So I think it was just a matter of working with
Yes, it was working with 202 to.
States or.
And that's helpful because that's why I was stumbling a little bit, because without those here, then the balancing act of how many meetings are too many meetings. I mean, quite frankly, if we have a meeting every week, that becomes a difficult thing. It's a difficult lift for us to be able to produce the type of quality work that we stand by.
Right. When likely 2 of those 3 will be precursors to the joint board meetings.
The joint board meetings.
3 or 4 weeks before, and then another one is usually juxtaposition before or after for work starting up to that.
So we will reach out to 202 and figure out the scheduling.
Yeah, and we can talk about it
as well. Any other thoughts or comments on the calendar? Then I believe that is, with no further business to come before the board, I find this meeting adjourned at 7:58 p.m. Thank you. Oh, I know. Oh, can we open it back up? I'm sorry, I should have asked if there were.
We did formal comments, so we don't.
We did formal.
We did formal comments. Oh, for a special meeting, we don't have informal comments at the end, so sorry. But thank you all for being here and for staying. Thank you.